SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Ready for the next level of real personalized banking? Muna's ITMs are like a teller in your car. That's right, from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, using one of Muna's ITMs at our main branch in Marion or Collinsville makes it so easy to bank with us.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Good morning. Welcome. It's Mornings with the Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us as we start things off. If you're watching on SuperTalk TV and I'm making you seasick, my apologies.
I need one of those, man.
Yeah, trying to adjust. One of what?
Yeah, I want one of those little handhelds that you're working with.
Oh, yeah.
On the cam. That's
nice. Just a remote.
I know, but I don't have one. I'd like that. No, I'm envious.
Yeah. Well, I'll share sometimes.
No. I'll just press Will. I'll
grab a universal remote.
Yeah, I'll corner Will. Will, I need a universal remote this morning, man. Come on.
Thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining us as we begin the Thursday edition, August 14th edition of Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Got to see a fair amount of the state yesterday. Started off in Jackson, and then made my way north to Starkville, and then made my way farther north and west to Oxford. Couple of different
same time zone, but just different area codes.
Well, no, I mean, I was just thinking about weather as we were doing that, or was doing it. I don't know, half an hour outside of Starkville, and big rain. I mean, big rain. And then 10 minutes outside of Starkville yesterday, I don't know, about 1:30 or so, the thunderstorm warnings start popping up. And we were there for the Not Fall Camp Tour presented by Pearl River Resort yesterday afternoon. And big old thunderstorm rolled in, and it quit about the time the show started, about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And it stayed overcast for a while, and man, it felt great. It was raining, it was windy, it felt great. And then it stayed cloudy for about an hour and a half. And then about 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock, ooh, that sun made its way back. That humidity set in, and it's like, all right. Yeah. We're going to put this on a slow broil for the rest of the way.
Forgot it was August,
Yeah. And then driving home last night, I don't know, between Tupelo and Oxford, really between Pontotoc and Oxford, I mean, just this tremendous lightning show. Most of the rain had kind of made its way out, but I saw some pictures and video from Oxford where, in some low-lying areas, you had water up to the wheel wells on some cars just kind of going through intersections. I asked Jane about it. She's like, well, it rained hard, but not for long. But apparently it was hard enough in some places that it created a little bit of havoc. So what about rain today? Batesville? You got partly cloudy skies this morning. Going to give way to cloudy skies this afternoon. Stray shower of thunderstorm is possible with a high of 93. Ackerman, 60% chance of rain this afternoon for you. Partly cloudy early. Scattered thunderstorms rolling in this afternoon with a high of 91. Canton, partly cloudy this morning, followed by scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. 'Tis the season, friends. High of 91, winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles an hour with a 50% chance of rain. And our friends in Purvis, Mississippi, partly cloudy today. Stray shower possible. 93. Light and variable with the winds. So, I mean, it's kind of a, hey, what's the forecast? Where do you live? Actually, it really doesn't matter right now. Low 90s, mix of cloud and sun, a little bit of a breeze. About a 50-50 shot on an afternoon thunderstorm. Rinse and repeat for, the next couple of weeks anyway, before we actually start to cool off a little bit. Hopefully in the next couple of 3 weeks. We can hold on to that. Ed in New Hope says it's foggy in the GTR this morning in the Golden Triangle. Thank you for that. Accident at new construction bridge before the Gluckstadt exit.
Yeah, that's always fun at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Especially in Gluckstadt.
Yeah,
that is the most – it's a log jam. If it's 6 a.m. or 4:30, and Gluckstadt is a beautiful place. They have, new city and all that. But, man, really I'm going to tell you, buddy, let me getting off that exit ramp or getting on it at the rush hour. Woo,
progress can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes there's some growing pains,
Doc Holliday.
Dude.
Born on this day in 1851. He only lived to be 36 years old, which, if you watched, what was it, Tombstone?
Well, I mean, when you're a dentist and a gambler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's likely to happen.
And a gunfighter.
Yeah, you add the gun in there, it's probably not a long life ahead of you.
Old Doc was born in Griffin, Georgia in 1851. And as Lance said, a dentist, a gambler, and a gunfighter.
Yeah,
most famously at the OK Corral.
You think he smiled at him? You think he was the one that smiled? He's like, hey, look at these beautiful pearly whites. One of those boys on the other side, the Clinton gang was like, no. Oh, goodness, he smiled at him.
And we are talking about the actual Doc Holliday, not Val Kilmer playing Doc Holliday.
Yeah, right. I mean, as I said, he was a dentist and a gambler, so he had to have a good poker face.
An exceptional talent, turns 80 years old today. He was born in 1945, American Grammy Award-winning comedian and banjo player.
I was going to say, don't forget the banjo.
Not to mention an actor in movies like Parenthood, The Jerk, Roxanne, Emmy Award-winning screenwriter, author, born in Waco, Texas. Do you know who I'm talking about? Of course you do. Steve Martin.
Martin. Yeah, The Jerk. Come on, man. I mean.
Roxanne.
I like Roxanne, but The Jerk with the glasses. I mean, that's like iconic,
Yeah.
Get sued and they give all your money back. All because of the little handy holder thing on the glasses. Made
Father of the Bride, not mixed there. That was a great one, too.
Good stuff.
Danielle Steele, 78 years old today. 1947 is when she was born. American author. Books like Remembrance, Zoya, Star, and Daddy. She's born in New York City. She's written over 190 novels, many of which have reached the top of or been on the bestsellers list.
Aren't they like the romance
She has churned them out.
Is she like romance novels or something? Or what? The name, I know Danielle Steele, but it's not the Fabio ones, right? Or
no, okay. That is
my mama. She wore those out. She'd go down to the library in McGee. Check out all the Fabio ones, and then
did she mind sitting around in public reading them, or
no? She would read.
She wanted to go somewhere private.
No, she was a speed reader. She would go through like 2 a day. This big thick. It's a dude with the mane, looks like a horse. On the front of the little paperback. Yeah, she'd blow through those things. She'd read the Bible. Also, I mean, she was an absolute scholar, but her ability to cruise through a Fabio novel was second to none.
There you go.
She said those are Mamaw's stories.
Do you remember the cartoonist Gary Larson, 75 years old, born in 1915, the creator of and executor of The Far Side, born in Tacoma, Washington. It was, there was some brilliance behind The Far Side. My favorite Far Side cartoon, you had a man standing at a desk looking up, and there were shelves around the ceiling in the room, and there were various and sundry items on the shelf, and the caption was simply "The Inconvenience Store."
Yeah,
that was my favorite. That's the one I loved. Gary Larson, super talented.
There's some great ones though. I mean, give me a break, dude. That guy it's like the one-liner king in comedy when it comes to like the comic strip. It was just the one-liner king. He had the best stuff.
Yeah.
If you just type in Far Side cartoons, you're not going to be disappointed if you just hit the image.
Not at all.
Just go to the images. You're going to be fine.
Magic Johnson, 66 years old today, born in 1959, an American Basketball Hall of Fame point guard, executive in the NBA, 5-time NBA champion, 3 times in the NBA Finals, won the MVP, won an Olympic gold medal in 1992, born in Lansing, Michigan. Got the nickname Magic in high school due to just how special he was on the basketball floor. Won a national championship in 1979 at Michigan State, defeating Larry Bird's Indiana State team. The Lakers took him as the first overall pick in the 1979 draft, made an immediate impact. Fierce rivalry with Larry Bird in their time in the NBA. 2 teams faced each other in 3 NBA finals during the 80s. And then in 1991, Magic Johnson shocked the world with his announcement that he had contracted HIV. Retired from basketball, became a prominent advocate for HIV awareness, and actually returned to the basketball court, played in the 1992 NBA All-Star Game, part of the U.S. Dream Team. There was controversy there. There was concern there. But probably a big part of the reason that HIV conversation became very much mainstream. He's been a very successful businessman since his retirement from basketball.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass has 2 locations in Richland and Brandon. Locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Traffic moving smoothly right now. We are all clear with no accidents or major congestion. Trust Southeastern Services with your heavy haul transportation needs. Their operators are experienced with driving both the fleet and operating the equipment they haul. Choose Southeastern Services. Call 601-292-9932.
For all your glass needs, call Venable Glass Services. Glass Networks, they're going to try and steer you to use their own glass shop. Well, you can tell your insurance you want to use Venable Glass, and there'll be no additional cost to them to get the highest quality glass. Venable Glass is locally owned and operated, and they do windshield replacement and rock repair right there in their shops, or they'll even come to you in the Tri-County area for free. That's right, free mobile service. At Venable Glass, they also do frameless and frame shower doors, mirrors cut to size and installed, picture frame glass, tables, desktops, insulated glass, plexiglass, commercial storefronts, and heavy equipment glass. Venable Glass. They'll come out and give you a free estimate. They want to work hard for your business. Venable Glass. Open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and on Saturday, 8 to noon. Hey, there's 2 locations too in Ridgeland at 660 Highway 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive South in Crossgates. Check them out on the web at venableglass.com. Remember, for all your glass needs, call Venable Glass Services. 601-605-4443.
It's been said that time waits for no one, but that's not completely true. Hi, I'm Cameron Albritton. Since 1920, our family has been privileged to serve as Mississippi's foremost diamond merchant. For decades, generations have trusted Albrittons for engagement rings, anniversaries, and those special events in life. Time has certainly changed our world. The internet, smartphones, and social media have revolutionized how we research, communicate, and even shop. At Albrittons, we've grown with you. At allbrittons.com, you can search, shop, and find the latest in fine jewelry. But for those who prefer the personal experience, you can now shop the all-new Albrittons at 4460 Old Canton Road in Northeast Jackson. With new displays and the latest designer jewelry, we're located across from our old home in Highland Village. Still the same Albrittons service you'd expect, but now bigger and better. You've waited for us, now we're ready for you. Come see what's new. Albrittons, 4460 Old Canton Road in Jackson.
At Albrittons Jewelers.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
No talking points and no spin. Just the truth as we cover the news. That's what you get with me. It's Eric Erickson, weeknights starting at 9 p.m. right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
The monitor switch lets you hear breaking news.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good to be with you on this Thursday morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross. This is Super Talk Mississippi. You've got it locked in. Hope you'll stick with us. Thanks for being with us this morning. You may join the conversation. You can and you may on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. The best teams know how to get even better. That's why C Spire constantly enhances their wireless, fiber internet, and business solutions for you. Visit cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. CC in Senatobia, his favorite Far Side cartoon. My favorite one had 3 Indians standing on the ocean bank looking at these 3 wooden ships coming toward the land. And the chief Indian said, what's the worst that could happen?
I remember that one so well.
Yeah. Lance, I got one more birthday for you before we move over to some of the things that have happened on this day and some news as well. Sarah Brightman, 65 years old today. Does that name ring a bell for you?
No.
She is a British mezzo-soprano that was born in 1960, stage actress and singer. She is married to the screenwriter Andrew Lloyd Webber. Perhaps
okay.
you've heard of him.
Yeah, I know who he is.
She has one of the highest-selling duets of all time alongside Andrea Bocelli.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
She does English also.
It's like Italian to me, yeah.
Well, that is. Yeah.
In the Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly movie?
I don't think so. Well, maybe you recognize this more. Maybe you recognize this. It's a little more mainstream for you for Sarah Brightman.
That voice which calls
That sounds like the Phantom of the Opera.
That is Phantom of the Opera. The original Christine Daae in Phantom of the Opera. And now I will just sit back and you can make fun of me for my music.
Oh, no, I actually love the Phantom of the Opera. That's one of the few that I've seen off Broadway. You know, I mean, it was one of those little theaters. And
like in New York or somewhere else?
In New York, yeah. I mean, like off Broadway of New York. I didn't see it in Cincinnati or anything, but it was amazing.
Well, I mean, some of the traveling Broadway companies are unbelievably talented.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, I saw it off Broadway. It was not on Broadway at the time it was being played, but man, you talking about a play? Goodness gracious, I've seen a bunch. I love theater. Not as much.
Wait,
in the music
hold on a
side
second.
I worked in the arts, man. I mean, I worked in the arts. I went to everything you could possibly go to, flamenco dancing and everything possible. So yeah, I'm in it with you. It's just the music sometimes is a little overboard. But to me, but the Phantom of the Opera is one that gets me. I mean, it's like it pulls on the strings a bit. It's just,
I'm glad to hear that. I feel like this is a new side of you. I feel like it's simply been like theater guy.
Well, I like
over
messing
there.
with you. Yeah, I like messing with you. But no,
and then we're like, I love the. Well, which is it, friend? Which is it?
No, I actually love the theater. I grew up in an arts family. It was one of those things that you just did, and you went to it, and it was never a big deal. You went to every theater thing possible. So the same way. I mean, I love going to the theater. Love music. Love live music.
The original Phantom of the Opera cast, including Michael Crawford as the Phantom and Sarah Brightman as Christine Daae, and that just international sensation of a cast, has sold over 40 million copies. It is the best-selling cast album ever, The Phantom of the Opera.
I actually knew still do the Phantom, and then his wife was the the costume person, and they were the traveling Phantom of the Opera. I think they were in Chicago and all over. So, man, I'm fascinated.
Oh, you knew someone who played Phantom?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, man, I'm fascinated with actually stage actors. Theater actors are the best. I don't care too much about the screen folks. I've been around enough of them, and they're great people, I'm sure. But the stage actors, I have a great affinity for. And much respect. That's a very difficult job, and they're so good at it. They really are.
On this day in the year of our Lord 1040, King Duncan I of Scotland is killed.
King Duncan? Donuts?
In a battle against his first cousin.
Ooh.
And his rival, cat by the name of Macbeth.
Yeah.
Who succeeded him as king. By the way, Macbeth not murdered in his sleep as he was depicted in Shakespeare's play Macbeth. 1880. A ceremony to celebrate the completion of the Cologne Cathedral, which had first begun construction in 1248. You think you have dealt with construction delays in your life? Let me tell you about the Gothic cathedral that took 600 years to build.
And the biggest one in Northern Europe, too, by the way.
I have not traveled extensively in Europe. I've been twice, and it's been, good grief, it's been 22 or 23 years since I've been there. A long time.
A lot's changed, brother.
Oh, there's no question.
The cathedral's still there, though. They just got it done last week.
Yeah. I went to Notre Dame in Paris. And it was like, okay, this is nice, but it felt so incredibly commercialized. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like it was a church store, and I don't know if they were selling stuff in there, but it felt very much like a hot museum. When you walk inside the cathedral in Cologne, Germany, it is like you are taken back in time. And when you hear Gothic in the name, I'm telling you, Lance, walking in the doors of that building, that incredibly beautiful building, the temperature dropped 30 degrees.
Really?
Wow. I mean, it was dark, and it was chilly inside there, and I'm like, whoa, this is what a cathedral castle is supposed to feel like in Europe.
It looks like a castle.
That's exactly what it looks like. Cologne was a cool city.
I've always heard great. There's so many beautiful cities in Germany.
Yeah.
Germany gets a bad rap. World War II and all, and kind of World War I also. But I've
probably deserved.
Yeah,
largely
well deserved. Yeah, I'm not taking up for
but
him here.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I've heard nothing but great things about the tourist element of Germany, and then the Cologne Cathedral is one of those can't misses. But architecturally, one of the most unique places, other than maybe the Gaudi spires you get over in Spain. But I think that's you're banking on a great trip there if you hit Cologne.
1941, President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill issued the joint declaration that later became known as the Atlantic Charter. After Germany's surrender in World War II, the leaders of the major Allied powers gathered in the ruined city of Potsdam to focus on the one remaining Axis powers member, Japan. The country was still holding out. Fighting was fierce, particularly on the island of Okinawa, which had just fallen after 3 months of major fighting. Major powers represented there primarily Harry Truman for the United States, Prime Ministers Winston Churchill and Clement Attlee of the UK, because Churchill had just been voted out of office. And, in fact, July 26, 1945, his last day as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Secretary Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union was there as well. The declaration set out the terms by which Japan had to surrender. The statement called for the elimination for all time of the authority and influence of those who have decided and misled the people of Japan into embarking on world contest, as well as disarming the Japanese military and an Allied occupation. Otherwise, Japan would face prompt and utter destruction. Japanese government, for its part, decided that they needed to debate this a bit. Well, let's think about it. What should we do? And they did not directly respond. And so on August 6th and August 9th, 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan, one at Hiroshima, the other at Nagasaki. And on the 9th, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan and invaded Manchuria. And Japan was like, no mas. We're done. Led to the unconditional surrender, ending World War II. after 6 years.
Man, the raping of Nanking, that story, and reading deep into the Chinese history of the Eastern Seaboard and the cities that were so greatly affected, man, it is dirty. It's ugly. It starts a lot of the conversation about the war on gold that we deal with today. But, man, I tell you what they did to the Chinese there in the early parts of that war, it's scary stuff.
Half an hour in, we got news headlines, some sports headlines for you. Got a lottery update. Marie Sanderson will join us this morning, as will Senator Nicole Boyd. All coming up with you on MRC right here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
RC Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's get on with the show.
Check it out. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane. Yeah, sweet Jane.
That one was new, Lance.
What was it? This cut?
Yeah, no, not this song, but the David's Big Voice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That
MRC's becoming a thing when it's in one of the liners.
Yeah, man. You got to brand that baby.
How about that?
Yeah. That's 0055. Yeah, so when I see that one coming now, I'll know that we got the MRC in the morning, baby.
There we go.
Good
to be with you.
I was thinking the same thing when I heard it. I was like, man, that baby.
Like, okay.
Yeah, that's how we brand that stuff.
Thanks, Big Voice David.
He is awesome, too, isn't he? I mean, like when you just get the email from Dave and it's like, oh, I got new cuts for you. You're like, oh, cool, man. Yeah, I've learned you better jump on them right now because some of them are case sensitive, like the July 4th one.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He'll slip one in there on you. You got to pay attention.
There are, I don't know, I'm running behind schedule, but there's some good stuff today.
Well, I mean, you got a day off tomorrow, so you can run whatever schedule you want, right?
Yeah,
and plus, you were two-timing yesterday, so
this is my Friday.
This is your Friday.
No,
you double duty yesterday.
There are some interesting things here. We a few weeks ago talked about Babe Didrikson Zaharias.
Who? Yeah, Babe.
Yeah, she was super athlete, golfer, Olympian. Anyway, she was born on this day in 1940, or it was on this day in 1947 that she gave up her amateur status in 1947 for $300,000.
Yeah, think about that today, huh?
Ooh.
Some big money.
Canadian Football League played its first game on this day in 1958. Winnipeg beat Edmonton. Sonny and Cher's hit I Got You, Babe went to number 1 on this day in 1965. Also on this day in 1965, the Beatles taped for an appearance for the U.S. variety show, The Ed Sullivan Show. How big a deal was that? Well, The Ed Sullivan Show, it was a big deal. On February 9th, the Beatles performed for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show. And around 73 million viewers watched their performance, at the time the most watched program in American television history. So when they arrived in 1965 on the 14th of August, obviously it was a really, really big deal. Beatlemania had already gripped the UK the previous year. And when they got to JFK in New York, they were greeted by a roaring crowd. 4,000 fans and 200 journalists arrived. Paul McCartney later recalled being in the car on the way to the hotel and listening on the radio to a news program narrating their car journey and talking about Beatlemania making its way to the United States.
We're bigger than Jesus, boys.
And then he apologized for that. 1980, the Democratic Convention in New York City nominated Jimmy Carter for president, Walter Mondale for vice president. I don't mean to spoil the outcome, but they finished in second place. A distant second place. 1985, Michael Jackson buys ATV Music, including the publishing rights to most of the Beatles song catalog. Paid $47.5 million for it. Good investment? 10 years later, he sold half of his interest to Sony Records for $150 million.
And that's half the story because Pakistan sent him their zoo, in return. So, yeah, but I mean, when you think about that, I mean, $47.5 million, 10 years later, $150 million for the catalog of the Beatles. Like, that's a no-brainer, right? I mean, that's inflation rates almost. I mean, I'm sure it's worth more than that, honestly. I mean, you're talking about the creative catalog of the Beatles?
Yeah.
Come on, dog.
You're putting a $300 million value on the entire thing at that.
Exactly. I mean, that's a good investment.
All right, some news headlines for you. Mississippi partnering with Canopy Children's Solutions. The governor teased this yesterday morning. We did not get to it, and he wasn't ready to kind of unveil all the details. News conference yesterday afternoon, a $16 million partnership between the Mississippi Development Authority, MDA, and Canopy Children's Solutions will serve to launch Canopy Anywhere, a youth mental health approach designed for students in grades 6 through 12 that identifies children's needs in real time. This was a quick solution, and there is a recognition that, hiring psychologists and mental health specialists and trying to deploy them within the public school system is a long, arduous, expensive process, and yet there was a recognition by the governor's office and others within state government that something needed to be done for this growing problem with mental health cases among children. And so this partnership with Canopy provides evidence-based hope curriculum that strengthens emotional wellness and goal setting. It's available through an app that is available to students. It provides self-guided digital tools and weekly wellness lessons, tech-enabled care navigation that connects students and caregivers to real-time support, resource navigation for families, and clinical screening and assessments when deeper support is needed. Canopy Anywhere was developed to meet the urgent and rising needs in children's mental health nationwide. The percentage of adolescents reporting at least one major depressive episode in the last year increased by nearly 90%. So it's a real thing. And there is so much that has changed around the conversation about mental health. And much of the stigma that once existed there has gone away. But there are times also where adults look at kids and go, mental health. They're just going through being a kid. That's hard. Well, maybe in some cases. But in some cases, it's also a pretty serious deal.
Yeah, cyberbullying and all that stuff, that's a real deal, man.
It is a real thing, and that's what has led to a lot of this. So kudos to the state of Mississippi, to the Reeves administration, to MDA for launching this, to try it with school-age children.
Hey, man, I'll be straight with you. I tell a lot of people, I'm an extreme fiscal conservative, and in many cases, an extreme conservative on most things. But when it comes to public health, I'm not at all. I'm not a conservative. I'm more of a liberal when it comes to the health of the people of the state of Mississippi. I think everybody ought to be healthy. And when you start with kids, and what we went through with COVID, and I hate to, it's not like a drum beat, but man, I mean, you can't just, stanching off a bunch of children for 2 years and tell them you can't hang out with anybody and think that has nothing to do with mental health.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that our governor, who is leading in so many categories, is taking a lead here. I firmly and believe with the deepest part of my heart, this is a good thing. And public health is an amazing asset. When your people are healthy, they work, they create, they do things, they're inspired. So congratulations, Gov.
Award-winning country trio Rascal Flatts recently returned to the stage after a 5-year hiatus, and apparently it's going so well they want to keep playing shows. Already gearing up for 2026, the band announced the extension of its Life as a Highway tour. The incoming 21 concert trek will include stops in 16 different states, including one right here in the great state of Mississippi. And we'll have special guests Lauren Elena and Chris Lane, Rascal Flatts, Mississippi Coast Coliseum in Biloxi on February 19th. Tickets going on sale August 15th at 10 a.m. So make your plans for that. The First Lady of the United States is getting into the threatening to sue business, and perhaps with good reason. Melania Trump has demanded that Hunter Biden retract comments linking her to sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and threatened if he does not, she will sue him for $1 billion. Melania Trump takes issue with two comments that Biden, son of the former president, made in an interview earlier this month with British journalist Andrew Callahan. He alleged that Epstein introduced the First Lady to now President Donald Trump. A statement released by Melania's lawyer, the statements are false, defamatory, and extremely salacious. Alejandro Brito, her attorney, wrote that they have caused the First Lady to suffer overwhelming financial and reputational harm. Biden made the Epstein comments during a sprawling interview in which he lashed out at elites and others in the Democrat Party, saying that they were the ones that undermined his father, and that if he had stayed in the election, he could have won.
Right, yeah.
And finally, a group of rabbits, like hippity-hoppity, in Colorado with grotesque horn-like growths may seem straight out of a low-budget horror film, but scientists say no reason to be spooked. The furry creatures are just sick. They have a common virus. The cottontails, recently spotted in Fort Collins, are infected with the mostly harmless Shope papillomavirus, which causes wart-like growths that protrude from their faces like metastasizing horns. Viral photos have inspired a fluffle of unflattering nicknames, including Frankenstein bunnies, demon rabbits, and zombie rabbits. Their affliction is nothing new, with the virus inspiring ancient folklore and fueling scientific research nearly 100 years ago. Frankenstein bunnies.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
He's got everything you need to know to start your day. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Now, here's more with Richard Cross.
Welcome again. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Thank you for joining us alongside Lance Tolbert. We welcome you back. You need your lottery update. We've got it for you. Lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. That's mslottery.com. No Powerball winner last night, and so the pot grows. In fact, it grows by a lot. It moves to well over 500, closing in now on $600 million, $565 million for Saturday night's drawing, with an estimated cash value of $258,800,000. The numbers for last night, 4, 11, 40, 44, and 50. The Powerball was 4. The Power Play multiplier was 3. There was no jackpot winner, but one Mississippi lottery player purchased a ticket, matching 4 out of 5 white balls plus the red Powerball to win $50,000. They purchased the $1 Power Play multiplier and so tripled their prize to $150,000. Good use of $1. And that ticket was purchased at the Carthage Junction.
They have a deli there. Yeah, they have a deli in there too.
Lance, I drove through Carthage just yesterday.
Yeah, that's my neck of the woods.
Just yesterday. I did not, however, stop at Carthage Junction.
Oh, you missed out, man. Because
perhaps at $150,000. Who knows?
Yeah, you could have been the winner.
Could have been.
Hey, Ward's is literally like 100 yards north of the junction, so I know I know it very well.
Okay.
You didn't hit Ward's on the way through either. I'm disappointed, but no, I know you ate well, at the event. So
Shannon Man won $5,000 on a $20 scratch off the $100 million extravaganza. Bought that one at Shannon Food Mart. Had a $2,500 cash pop winner from Brandon. Brandon woman got her ticket at Double Quick. And a $2,700 cash for winner in Louisville on a ticket from Double Quick number 7. That's
right.
Your Mississippi Lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery.
All right, who is the most famous Shannon Man? Ole Miss guy, obviously. Who do we go with?
I mean, I assume we're going with Romero.
We got to go with Romo, right?
Absolutely.
He is the king of Shannon, Mississippi. How many yards did he throw for in high school? Like 8,000 or something?
It was a bunch. And his primary receiver was?
Grant Hurd?
No, I'm talking about in high school, at Shannon High School. They came to Ole Miss together.
Yeah, was it Rufus?
No, that was at Amory.
He was Amory,
Yeah.
Well, who was that?
It's Jamie Armstrong.
Oh, wow. I was just having a conversation about that era with someone yesterday, about Jesse Mitchell and that era. I was like, man, Jesse's my guy.
All right, it is time for your sports headlines, which are brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Family fun, casino thrills, live entertainment, outstanding golf, and so much more. It's all available to you at Pearl River Resort. Ole Miss Athletics announced earlier this week that football junior linebacker Centurion Perkins has been named the preseason watch list for the Lombardi Award. School said Perkins is one of 54 players nationally, one of 16 from the SEC to make the watch list for the Lombardi Award, established in 1970 in memory of, you guessed it, Vince Lombardi. Perkins also on the watch list for the Chuck Bednarik Award, the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, and has been named preseason All-American and first-team preseason All-SEC. Speaking of the Bednarik watch list, the Maxwell Football Club has announced Southern Miss cornerback Josh Moten as one of 90 players to take an eye out to watch for this year for the Bednarik Award, honoring the nation's best defensive player. Named after Chuck Bednarik, the Hall of Fame NFL linebacker and center. Played his entire career with the Philadelphia Eagles. Moten, transfer from Marshall, finished last year with 38 tackles, 5 pass breakups, had 5 tackles and an interception against Ohio State, which ended up going to win the 2024 season's national championship. The game was actually played in 2025. The NBA Board of Governors on Wednesday, that's yesterday, unanimously approved the sale of the Boston Celtics.
Ooh.
Led by a private equity mogul group.
The Chinese?
Bill Chisholm.
Oh,
no.
okay. Yeah.
No, he's a Californian.
Good deal.
Bill Chisholm, the head of that group, valuing the franchise at $6.1 billion. League said the transaction was expected to close shortly. When it does, Chisholm will take ownership of at least 51% of the team, full control by 2028 at a price that could take the deal to $7.3 billion. Largest price ever paid for an American professional sports franchise. However, Mark Walters buying a controlling share in the Los Angeles Lakers that values the Lakers at $10 billion. Jeannie Buss holding on to 15% of the team. Previous record for a sale, Washington Commanders 2023, a little over $6 billion. Record for an NBA team previously was the $4 billion that Matt Ishbia paid for the Phoenix Suns back in 2023. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Great to start this Thursday morning with you. Today is August the 14th. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services, who can help you with some of the tasks that are difficult and sometimes not fun when you're running a business. Tasks like, dealing with human relations, HR, benefits, payroll. If those are tough for you, you're not alone, and that's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They provide a full range of benefits and full range of employer services for you, and just for you. Now, they can help lots of people, but to customize a plan for you and your business's needs, you can learn more by giving them a call, 601-206-7966, or check them out online at mwgemployerservices.com. Always enjoy our conversations with Marie Sanderson, and she joins us this morning to kick off the 7 o'clock hour. Marie, good morning. I love Lance always talks to you, and he doesn't. I don't think he knows that I can hear it, but he was asking you about a painting in the background. You're like, actually, that's wallpaper. I just leaned back in my chair and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. I was like, that was fantastic.
Yeah, she didn't tell you that she has her welding certificate right over to her right.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard. It's good to be with you today.
Marie's been around politics for a while, former policy director with the Republican Governors Association, GOP strategist, and stays very involved. And it has been fascinating to watch over the last few days. The federalization of Washington, D.C. because of the crime issue that they've got going and the immediate reaction by Democrats to the decision by President Trump. How dare he? He's overstepping. He's overreaching. He has no place to do this. And it's like unwittingly they decided that it was okay to say that violent crime was okay while the murder rate was going up. And now a few of them seem to be realizing their mistake and can't really figure out how to get out of what they've said.
The Democrats can't find their positioning on this issue. It's a hard one for them because the president's right. DC has been a place that has been not safe. I go there, as you well know, almost once a week. And, there has been significant crime during COVID, past COVID. And the president is focused on making the nation's capital as safe as it can be. The Democrats don't like this. The mayor there does not like this. But they can't quite decide how to position themselves because they know that being against crime is very unpopular. They have showed that, or being against handling crime is unpopular. They continue to be on the wrong side of this issue. We saw the president take care of issues in California earlier in the summer by sending the National Guard in, and then he was able to stabilize. And the Democrats just aren't sure how to handle this power that the president has.
Well, and that was the interesting thing about the California. There was so much pushback, starting with Governor Newsom and going down to Mayor Karen Bass in Los Angeles. But it's funny, the riots and the violence in L.A. seemed to stop within just a few days of the National Guard coming in and stabilizing the situation. There was nobody that gave him credit. It was like, see, now he's pulling the National Guard out. We didn't have to have that. And isn't there an argument to be made that a big part of the reason that they lost the election was because of their stance on violent crime and the illegals that were coming into the United States?
Absolutely. There's a direct correlation between safety and illegal immigrants entering into our country. Americans understand that. Backing the blue is very important to Americans. In both parties, by the way, and the president owns this issue. Republicans own this issue. Again, promises made, promises kept. He said he would make America safer, and the president is doing that. And the Democrats can't figure out where they want to be on this issue because the president is right in how he's choosing to handle both D.C. and California.
Economy certainly was another huge part of the issue, and it's something that that Democrats have tried to corner him on. They say prices haven't gone down. It's simply, I guess, if you understand economics at all, not something that happens overnight. We are 7 months in at this point. The conversation continues around tariffs, but maybe the bigger conversation, we got the story last week about the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the change that he made at the top of that organization. But the bigger thing that everybody is watching is the Fed rate. And Jerome Powell, it sounds like, we think, but we've been thinking for a while that a rate cut was coming. When you look at kind of the economic landscape, I know we've talked a lot about tariffs. What's your major takeaway with where we are right now?
Most economists aren't quite sure how they want to handle this new economic reality under President Trump. He is handling things his way. We've talked about tariffs on your show, about why the president is doing this to reset the trade balance with the United States with the rest of the world. And naysayers want to say that the economy is softening, that the labor market is softening, but we're not really seeing that. Some people say it'll come out later in the data, but I think the president is bullish about his posture and where he is. We're making money off the tariffs, particularly off of countries that aren't our allies like China. And so I think the president is emboldened in his posture on how he's going to continue to handle tariffs. You have Secretary Bessent yesterday announced that he would look to reduce the rate by 0.5%. He's also interviewing people to replace Jerome Powell. And so I think you'll see kind of a new leadership and a new framework as the president's able to put someone in place there that he appointed.
You mentioned China, and that seems to be the one country that, I don't want to say kid gloves, that's not the right way. We know how serious the relationship is with China, but the executive order came down that they're going to pause what could have been massive tariffs for another 90 days as the United States and China continue to work. How do you evaluate the relationship that exists, whatever it is, between Xi Jinping and China and President Trump and the United States and China at a larger level?
Look, I think China is obviously important to a number of businesses as far as it relates to supply chains, as well as other markets. What the president is trying to do is bring more business, more foreign direct investment into the United States, and also reset that balance. I think in a situation with China, they've had conversations, but it is not to a point where the president feels like he can make a deal. They are delaying, ratcheting up some of these tariffs for certain countries. If he feels like they're having progress and they're having conversations, we saw that on the first and the second. But for now, I think with China, it is in a negotiation. In the meantime, the U.S. is recouping some of that revenue from China in tariffs, and I think that is not nothing, right, Richard? That's a lot of money. So I think the president is comfortable in his current positioning. There are other countries like India where they're reporting that things are still not moving in the right direction. I think, and so we'll continue to see how he negotiates with some of these countries where a deal has not been announced.
As it pertains to China, I think about, you remember Facebook used to have relationship status, and you could have in a relationship or married or single or whatever, but then there was also an option where sometimes people would just plug in, it's complicated. And I feel like that's kind of it with China. I mean, it's complicated because you can talk about it just from an economic standpoint, but then you look at relationships that China has and you're like, okay, are they aligned with India? Are they aligned with Russia? Are they adamantly against the United States? Are we adamantly against China? But oh, wait, we're partners on so many things economically. There's so many American businesses that rely on China. We get so many products from China. There are just so many layers to. It's like, is the end game here that the United States and China have to find a way to coexist as the two dominant superpowers on the planet?
Well, I can't predict where this will land, and I think. But I will say this. The president is very much involved in these decisions. I've said this on your show before. He has great advisors around him and who are negotiating deals, both on the economic side and on the national security side, which you just noted is critically important to a lot of these deals. But the president is very much involved. And unlike the last presidency, there are not things happening that impact America's security, both national and economic security, without the president's involvement in negotiation. So I don't know where this will head, but I know President Trump personally will be involved.
I know you got to run in just a few minutes. Going to hold you over through the break. Just one quick question about this upcoming meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. There was a really fascinating story in the Wall Street Journal about the president of Finland and how he has kind of become an interesting mediator between Europe and the United States as it pertains to Russia. We'll talk about that quickly on the other side of the break. Then Marie's got to run off to a meeting that's probably far more important than a conversation with me, but she's going to hang with us for just a couple of more minutes. Marie Sanderson, former policy director with the RGA and Republican strategist. We're back right after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Marie Sanderson is my guest for just a couple of more minutes, and I wanted to get your take on this meeting coming up with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. There was some talk as to whether or not Zelensky was going to be included in this. That does not appear to be the case. He's not going to be there for this talk. Donald Trump has made no bones about the fact that he wants this war between Russia and Ukraine to end, that it's dumb. He's frustrated with Vladimir Putin, and he has said as much. What's the tenor of this meeting going to be?
I think the president is going to go into the meeting seeking for a ceasefire. That has been reported. I think the president has had, as you mentioned at the bottom of the last segment, people in Europe, Finland's president, Alexander Stubb, who have been giving him information that I think resonates with the president about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It will be interesting to see how this lands. But I think the president is showing, tremendous leadership on the global stage, trying to solve this global conflict. And there are others, as you mentioned, such as Finland's president, who have been confidants, as reported to the president, given their report from the golf course to the fact that the president is a staunch conservative, worked his way up through really important global organizations in Finland, and is now, a trusted partner, as reported to President Trump.
President of Finland went to school at Furman in South Carolina, had a relationship with Lindsey Graham at a meeting. They bonded over being from South Carolina, and Lindsey Graham said, "Hey, let's call up President Trump." And then he found out that he was a golfer. He actually went to Furman on a golf scholarship. Trump invited him to come play golf, and it sounds like they hit it off, and he has become this bridge between the European nations who are wary of President Trump, but I think a little scared of him also. And he just seems to be this no-nonsense guy who just says whatever is on his mind and has kind of been the go-between the two. It's I don't even know what the word is. It's not the person that you would pick to be like the middleman in the negotiations between Russia and the United States to represent Europe's interests, but it's almost like he's been the right guy at the right time.
It certainly appears that way. The president is very good about finding people he trusts to get their opinions. It has been, reported that, the president's unafraid to pick up the phone and call and get advice from various stakeholders or opinion leaders on issues as he, factors in his head what his position will be. Certainly he has a lot of advisors around him. But I think that relationship has become extremely important to the president. And that relationship has been growing for a while. I remember seeing public reports that Finland and the U.S. were golfing together way before he became the center of trying to negotiate things between the United States and Ukraine and Russia.
And last thing for you on this, has President Trump made the right strategic moves in dealing with Russia? Because it has not been just full on the hammer. It's been kind of incremental steps and has tried to pacify is not the right word, but maybe engage Europe and being willing to sell our weapons to them. Maybe we're not going to pay for it in Ukraine, in the war anymore. Has this been the right way to kind of slow play this negotiation?
I trust the president and where he is at a given moment. The president has a lot of information that we'll never see. His way of negotiating has proven successful time and time again. So I can't comment on the approach, but I certainly, in my belief, believe that he has gotten to know both sides, and he is moving to the meeting today being very well informed.
Marie, always appreciate your time. Know you've got a lot to do today. Appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us this morning.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great day.
You as well. Marie Sanderson. She worked as the policy advisor for the Republican Governors Association when Haley Barbour was, I guess on the heels of being governor and chair of the RGA, and is a GOP strategist, and her perspective always interesting to bring to these conversations. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. If you are a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal, and you may or may not be, the story about Alexander Stubb and Donald Trump is a fascinating one. I read that last night. The headline on it is how Finland's golf-loving president got Trump to hear him out on Russia. Interesting stuff. Lance, I don't know if that one's in your wheelhouse or not, but it's fascinating how some of these relationships grow over time. And, they say some of the biggest deals get done on the golf course. Maybe that's the way to approach it.
I think the Prez makes that happen, I mean, he seems to be an extremely good closer. But as Marie just said, I mean, being able to take advice, be able to pick up the phone and make a call and say, hey, man, what do you think about this guy Putin? I've been having these conversations with him, but what is your experience with him? I think that's the kind of president you have, is one that is willing to pick up that phone. I mean, sometimes that's the, 1,000-pound gorilla in the room is just picking up the phone and, hey, getting some advice. I think that's pretty cool, though. I'm glad she shared that.
Yeah. And whether it's advice or just gathering more
more info,
it does seem that the president is open to that. So we get a message a few minutes ago from Spencer in Florence. He says, I saw a video yesterday that Europe's interest rate is currently at 3.6%. Is there truth to that? If so, why won't Powell make a move and get our country headed back in the right direction? I think you're hard-pressed at this point to find an economist that thinks where the United States is positioned in terms of the Fed rate is one that makes sense. We've talked with Peter Costa a number of times, and, he's gone from, back in the fall when we first visited to saying, there's still some inflationary tendencies within the economy, not sure how the tariffs are going to work. He softened on that a little bit. He's like, I'm still not 100% sure on the tariffs long term, but maybe in the short term, this is something that makes sense. But the fundamentals of the economy in the United States, regardless of what may be on the horizon, because what we keep hearing from people that are not in the tariff camp is, well, the tariffs are going to have an impact. And they are having an impact on multiple fronts, right? They're having a positive impact from the standpoint that Scott Bessent's saying, look, I've been predicting $300 billion in tariff revenue, and I'm going to have to adjust that number up, it looks like. But they're also having an effect on businesses and exports and imports, and that's not a fun process. But overall, we keep seeing inflation not growing at the rate that it is predicted to grow.
Yeah, it's below what has been projected. That's always good.
We have no idea what the job numbers actually are.
Amen. When have we?
We just don't. We thought we did. We thought they were really good, and then the Labor Bureau says, well, maybe not as good as we thought.
Yeah.
And Trump says, well, hold on, you're cooking the books. And it's like it's hard to know what to believe in terms of actual job numbers.
Well, and the work week is 32 hours now, basically, not 38 or 40. So there's been a lot of the sliding scale over the last decade of how we define the workforce. That is, to me, one of the confusing things. What is full employment, I guess, is the great question. Is that everyone working at 32 hours a week, or everybody working at 35, or everybody working at 38? Those are real questions, and we've changed the target a bit over the years.
And if you're looking at the stock market on a day-by-day basis, you can find bad news if you want to. There's a headline on CNBC right now that says S&P 500 futures are flat after 2 days of big gains.
Ooh.
Some weak earnings. What about the overall market? The Dow is at 45,000.
Mm-hmm.
The S&P futures are at almost 6,500. NASDAQ futures are at almost 24,000. And all three are up going into the trading day.
Well, as anything, all this stuff's going to have a, when you grow at a record pace, when things are going at a very fast pace, it always takes a moment to, after a couple big days, normally you're going to have a little reset.
Somebody message on the C Spire text line says Powell is concerned with inflation, but he's also shoring up demand for the U.S. dollar in the face of BRICS efforts to move nations away from U.S. dollar reserves. It's about keeping the dollar's reserve currency status.
Yeah, well, at the same time, you're looking at a nominal rate of 7.5 roughly for your most credit-worthy borrowers. Go compare what the BRICS are offering to others. I mean, if that's your competition, and it is, all this could blow up. It all could turn around and be negative because you do have, about 56% of the world's population are housed within the BRICS. So, there's an ample market there. So what Trump is doing is negotiating in a precipitous environment,
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like the idea of BRICS and a bunch of
developing countries,
non-U.S. loving countries wanting to come up with their own currency system is a new idea.
No, it's been going along since Kennedy, Suharto.
How's that worked out for them so far?
It's been a long time, yes. Since the 60s, they hadn't figured it out.
All right. So do you want to bet on what might happen, what you're concerned about happening, or do you bet on America?
No, they're just the boogeyman.
First?
Yeah, they're the big boogeyman in the room.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We'll take a timeout, get to a couple of big news headlines when we come back with you. Glad to have you along on MRC. Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Somebody told me when I first got to Nashville, oh, she finally got it made. Old Hank made it here. We're all sure that you will.
C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. Every sports fan can tell you fast speeds win games. It's why C-Spire brings you fiber home internet, nationwide 5G wireless, and IT solutions that move as fast as your business. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. A couple of messages here. And look, I am I am definitely not suited to have a large-scale economic debate with some of you, maybe many of you, about global economies and all the moving parts of that. I'm sure that there are lots of terms that you can use that either I don't know or I don't fully understand. I don't have an economics degree. I don't have a global economics, full-scale understanding, but I don't think I'm dumb either. And, I read the message about Powell being concerned with inflation but shoring up demand for the U.S. dollar in the face of BRICS. And the follow-up message was, I don't understand your argument. Liquidity chases safe return. Higher U.S. dollar returns relative to alternatives is an attempt to pay for our decision to weaponize the SWIFT system and spook dollar demand.
Maybe. I mean, you're looking at, interest rates are the determining factor in most anything. I mean, if you want to do business in the U.S. and rates are higher than they are over here, where do you think you're going to go if you have credit worthiness?
Well, and
you're going to go where the lowest rates are. That's the way the world works, generally speaking. So, if you want borrowing, if you want people to borrow your money, they're looking at the lowest rate. That's how it works. The same when you're buying a house. Are you going to buy a house when it's 7.5%, or do you want to buy a house when it's 4.5%?
Yeah.
And it's just, the world is not linear in lending. The world is not linear in money. It is circular. Everybody's sharing the same burden. Everybody's borrowing from one another. Everybody's shifting it around. So really, it's who has the best rate. That's where we are. If you want to look at the PPI, yeah, it's moving in a gradual fashion from late or mid 2023 to where we are now, to 3.3%. You know where we were under Biden? Over 10%. Over 10 on the PPI. So, yeah, are we talking about worries that are true, or is this a boogeyman? That's what economics is, an art. It is not necessarily a science. Okay, you're looking at charts and graphs and all these different things and going, okay, what's the greatest probability of this, and this happening? If you take one thing, well, yeah, you can make an argument for any one thing, but economics is a basket of things, and PPI is one of those things. And we're at 3.3%, gradually increasing since 2023, from where we were at the high point, 10.5%. Okay? Go back to 2020, we were at 2. So, yeah, I mean, nothing is ever stable in economics. You can't nail it to the wall. I don't have a degree in it. I worked in it for 16 years, but I can tell you one thing, it's never the same from one day to the next, ever.
Well, I think maybe my larger point here was that making decisions out of fear.
Yeah, the boogeyman.
Or what you think might be coming somewhere down the line, when the thing that you're worried about coming down the line has been talked about and debated and an attempt to be organized. And I understand that BRICS is farther along than it's ever been before, and maybe it's more real than it's ever been before, but the conversation's been going on for half a century. Oh, well, how do we combat the U.S. dollar? How can we band together? The United States has the most dynamic economy on the face of the earth. And that piece of it is going to change. And so from a consumer standpoint, from our standpoint on a day-to-day basis, yes, there are reasons that you don't lower interest rates or reasons that you raise interest rates. And I think most bankers would tell you, no, a 0% rate environment, a 1%, 2% rate environment, it's not healthy for anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, we were at 4.25%, 4.5% in 2022 when rates, when we had the PPI at 10.5%. We're at 4.25 to 4.5 now, and PPI is at 3.3. So what is the data? What are we doing with the data here? We just decide not to use it anymore? So I mean, if we're doing numbers here, which is very difficult at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, but when inflation was at 10.5%, interest rates were at 4.25% to 4.5%. Where they are now, PPI is at 3.3. So I mean, where's the data? That's what I keep saying. It's like so at 10.5 PPI percent, you were at 4.25. We're at 4.25 now at 3.3. So what's the argument? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Where are we going with this argument?
Yeah. Bottom line is, from my perspective, lowering interest rates triggers an economic boom in the United States. We get a question or a statement here says, in my line of work, the number of commercial property transactions influences our work, and I gauge the economy based off of that. I can say right now that it's trending down significantly, but if Powell would cut some rates, then it would boom the economy for everyone.
I don't disagree with that.
And the thing is, I mean, so many times when we talk about interest rates, everybody equates that to home purchases and home refinances. But there's so much more to that. When you talk about interest rates and capital that is tied up for businesses, if you have debt as a business on some sort of a relatively short-term loan, then when that loan comes due, you either have to pay it off or you've got to refinance. And if you have to refinance at a higher rate, then it limits the amount of cash that you can put into your business.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you
need business owners investing in business. You need business owners spending capital, not trying to keep all of their powder dry because they are completely unaware of what the landscape's going to look like in 6 months or 18 months.
Well, and in that
4 years.
Yeah, in that tangent, and not to interrupt you, but I mean, when rates drop, a lot of businesses that are publicly traded can go borrow money and buy back stock. That's something that a lot of people go, well, I don't think companies should be able to do that. Why? Why should a company not be able to use excess revenue instead of paying it in the form of a dividend to be able to go out and buy its stock back out of the market and create upside for the shareholder and every employee that works there that owns shares in that stock or the options? So again, as you drop rates, there's a dynamic that happens. Okay, it increases spending, as one of our 601 says. I mean, that's what you're doing. Do you want to influence, spending in the economy? If you do that, you drop rates. Okay, it's not that complicated. Interest rates are the tool in which you use to flood money into the economy when you need it, or restrict it or hamstring it when you think it's getting too fast.
Well, and there's a happy medium in there, right? I mean, as I was saying a second ago, a super low interest rate environment, where while maybe good in the short term for the consumer or somebody that's trying to buy a house, that may be short term good, but it's not what you need the market to be overall. But you also, if you go too high, then you restrict money that can be spent by businesses. And so it's, what is that middle ground?
Well, that's where the data should come in. And again, I'm not a fan of Jerome Powell because he has completely ignored the data that every other Fed chief has used for years and decades. That's where I have a problem with this guy. The reality is, use the data. You were at 4.25% on the interest rates when inflation was at 10.5%. You're at 4.25 now when inflation is way below that. So what are you saying to America? What are you saying to the consumer? What are you saying to President Trump? I don't care about the data anymore? That's my argument. Again, just stick to what your job is and quit politicizing all of this junk. Just do your job.
Mike in Gulfport, I think this is a good message. Economics is, in my opinion, very subjective and based on the judgment of the economist and his or her background and knowledge. Agree with you both. Housing is a huge part of economics. Interest rates are the biggest driver, along with corporate growth, which lowers unemployment. Powell seemingly owed someone more than the man who put him on the Fed.
Well, I don't know what his game is, but I can say one thing after doing this for a long time. The Fed has been predictable. We knew when they were going to make rates move up or down. It seems, as J.R. and Starkville said, this is personal with this guy. It is personal. There's somebody that watched this like a hawk every day for 16 years. I just don't see what he's following. I don't. I'm lost as to for his logic and decision-making here. And if he doesn't have that, he needs to go.
More of your messages on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. You're listening to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Wherever, however you've got us locked in, we appreciate you joining us. Don't forget, you got lots of options. Can't listen in real time? Go back and grab the podcast for Mornings with Richard Cross and join the conversation that way. You can listen online at supertalk.fm. You can watch at SuperTalk TV if you prefer the live stream to happen in the background. And, of course, on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, a dozen of them across the Magnolia State. Quick time out. We're back with you right after this with more MRC.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. Quick couple of hours. We are approaching the end of the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to start things off in the 8 o'clock hour with Senator Nicole Boyd, who represents Lafayette and Panola Counties, District 9. She's the chair of the Senate University and Colleges Committee, Universities and Colleges Committee, and also vice chair of the Senate Medicaid Committee. We're going to hit on a number of topics with Senator Boyd coming up in just a little while. But first, we will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour. A couple of notes on the C Spire text line, and then one story that I came across last night that I thought was really interesting. Powell is a Democrat. He will only cut rates if they want him to, and he will not if it will benefit Republicans in any way. If I was Trump, I would deny his remodel of his office. Instead, move into the smallest office in the area. So John wants the president to be petty with Powell. Suppose that is one way to go about it. Lance mentioned before the break, JR said with Powell it's personal. It feels that way. And then you get this message. Jerome Powell is playing a very cautious game with interest rates. I understand the argument that is being used about where rates are now compared to where they were when inflation was high. But Powell is being cautious, not reckless. I trust him with the economy, not the guy who bankrupted a casino.
I disagree 100%. Most of your inflationary problems have come from COVID because of scarcity of goods. How do you build goods? How does that happen? You do it with no money in the bank or no ability to borrow or at super high costs? Or do you as a company sit back and wait, thinking rates may drop, and if we want to build inventories, which drops prices because excess creates that, not scarcity, all right, if we're looking at supply and demand, when you don't have enough of something, prices go up. Thank COVID for that. Thank the supply chain, as you heard Joe Biden talk about forever. The supply chain is messed up. What do you think? That's part of it. The other side is the immense borrowing that we've done. Now, where can you solve some of this? Well, interest rates help that, right? You drop rates, companies can build inventories. Oh, by the way, the government doesn't have to pay as much in interest on all this debt that we created to keep people sitting at the house for 2 years. So, yeah, in normal circumstances, maybe you're right. The guy that bankrupted a casino may be wrong. But this isn't normal circumstances. You have a supply chain issue where it took 2 years to get a window from China. What do you think the cost is going to do when it takes that long? To get a door or a generator or something. Maybe America should build something again. And we get that, well, we're never going to be able to compete with this, and this because, because everybody's paying everybody $2 an hour over here in China. Oh, okay. That's an argument. I get it. That's where tariffs are supposed to even this out a bit. Give us some type of ability to negotiate better terms on trade that has been a train wreck.
This note on here, but Powell is being cautious, not reckless. I would say that being overly cautious is equally reckless.
Yes, sir.
There is, as I said a second ago, I think there's a middle ground. And
the middle ground is data. I keep going back to that. Why were you at 4.25 at 10.5 PPI and you're at 4.25 at 3.3 PPI? That's not caution. That's not even following the information.
So this other story I mentioned, it's sports related, but it's one of the most famous figures in the world of sports. He's not an athlete; he is an owner, and he is there because he's put himself there. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said that he's dealt with stage 4 melanoma and that an experimental trial drug saved his life. The Cowboys are part of the Netflix documentary America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. It debuts next week. Jones, who's 82 years old, talked about undergoing cancer treatments at MD Anderson in Houston. Didn't really reveal all of the details of the treatment, but in an interview with the Dallas Morning News newspaper there, he says, I was saved by a fabulous treatment and great doctors and a real miracle drug called PD-1 therapy. I went into trials for that PD-1, and it has been one of the great medicines. I now have no tumors. Jones told the papers he was diagnosed in June of 2010 and began treatment soon thereafter. Over the next 10 years, he said he had 2 lung surgeries and 2 lymph node surgeries. Stage 4 melanoma refers to skin cancer that has metastasized to other parts of the body. According to the American Cancer Society, PD-1 therapy, programmed cell death 1, causes the immune system to recognize and attack cancer cells. A couple of really interesting quotes from Jerry Jones. You don't like to think about your mortality, but I was so fortunate to have some great people that sent me in the right direction. I got to be part of a trial that was propitious. It really worked. It's called PD-1, and it really, really, really worked. It ate my hips up. I had to have both hips replaced because it was rough on your bones. But other than that, I'm so proud to get to be sitting here with you guys and beginning to do what we do, but mortality was in the back of my mind. Stage 4 melanoma diagnosis used to always be fatal. Treatment aimed to merely slow the disease, control the symptoms, and extend survival. But recent medical advancements, including immunotherapy, therapies and targeted checkpoint inhibitors that help the body's T cells fight off the cancer, have given hope that didn't currently exist. Interesting stuff. 8 o'clock hour is next.
Your home from Duck Hill to Alligator. Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain.
8 o'clock hour with you. Glad to have you along for the ride. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. Later today on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you'll hear an interview with songwriter Jay Knowles, who has written hits for the likes of George Strait, Blake Shelton, Lainey Wilson, and many more. That's In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. And don't forget, in 6 days, the Not Fall Camp Tour will make its final stop. We'll be in Hattiesburg at Ed's Burger Joint, talking about the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. Tons of giveaways like Genteel golf shirts and hoodies, plus golf giveaways, hotel stays, and gift certificates to Philip M's and Pearl River Resort. The Not Fall Camp Tour is presented by Pearl River Resort. That's next Wednesday, August 20th, in Hattiesburg for the final stop of the tour. Glad to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi, and glad to welcome our next guest in as well. Senator Nicole Boyd represents Lafayette and Panola counties. She is chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee and vice chair of the Senate Medicaid Committee. Senator Boyd, good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard.
Appreciate some of your time as always. Always enjoy the conversations. Let's start with, I think, what is most recent and most active right now. You are on the opioid settlement task force. We have now gotten that crazy call from a couple of weeks ago in the rearview mirror and are moving on. Applications are now being accepted. Where are we in terms of the committee's recommendations and how some of this money is going to actually be spent?
Well, right now, the applications are online at the Attorney General's office on their website, so people can access those applications there. They're due, I believe, the 19th of September. People should double-check me on those dates. And so the committees there's a whole list of things that are eligible for funding there. And so we really hope that Mississippians and communities will gather together and law enforcement, schools, people look together and see what they can do to really diminish this crisis in our state. Opioid addiction has torn apart too many families in the state, and we want to make sure that we remediate these issues. And this is a good time to do it with the settlement dollars. And so what this committee will be doing is looking at those proposed applications and then really prioritizing what they would recommend the legislature fund out of those dollars. So we look forward. I'm very excited. I've already heard some people that are applying, and I've heard different ones and different things, and I'm really excited to see what Mississippians come up with.
What are some of the ideas that you're hearing in the early going of this in terms of people prioritizing in their minds or within their communities how this money should be spent?
Well, they're looking, I think one of the things I'm hearing is that they're looking possibly at underserved populations. We know that one of the proposals that somebody called about the other day, and I'm not a voting member on that committee. I just as a legislator kind of advise the committee and kind of actually keep up with it. So I'm not a voting member on the committee. So but one of the things that people really are looking at is underserved populations. For right now, like for example, we don't have a lot of programs that really serve youth who already have some of these addiction issues. And then another thing, pregnant women. We know statistically from other programs we've looked at in other states, we know that when a woman has an addiction, but she stops usage and really remediates that there is a high percentage of women who completely get off opioids altogether before that baby is born. And then that helps us in a lot of other areas because you don't have a child that's born with the addiction issue. Then you don't have a child that's going to wind up in CPS custody. So it becomes a whole lot of issues, and really getting those mothers effective treatment has been very beneficial through in a number of other states. So I think we'll see some proposals on that. I think you also see a lot of people that are really trying to reach out to our colleges and universities because we know that that's an age of experimentation. And how do we make sure that we eliminate our colleges, our college kids from doing this? And how do we monitor that? How do we find out in our communities what that real issue is? So I'm seeing a lot of drug courts that are looking at some novel approaches. So I look forward to seeing a whole breadth of ideas from individuals across the state and groups across the state that really want to tackle this.
Certainly interesting to see as those ideas come in what feels like it might be most effective. There was an announcement from the governor's office yesterday about a partnership between MDA and Canopy Children's Solutions. This is an app-based product, and I talked with Governor Reeves yesterday a little bit about this. We just kind of touched on it because the announcement hadn't been made. But he told me off the air that, when you look at mental health solutions, whether you're talking about psychologists or psychiatrists or specially trained teachers, that you're looking at a long-term solution that sometimes takes a long time to implement and is really, really expensive to implement. And because of the seriousness and the volume of mental health issues that are being reported K through 12, but especially 6th grade through 12th grade, they felt like there was a need to do something fast. And they are trying this out, this Canopy Solutions, Children's Solutions, app-based that provides resources online. What's your reaction to this attempt to try and help the kids that are school-aged?
I think these app-based solutions, and I've seen this program, and it's a great program. This is the first generation that has really grown up, that technology has been in their hands very early, and it's a challenge. And so the Senate and the House did hearings on youth mental health issues 2 years ago, and the issues that kind of came up in that were pretty profound, having teachers talk with us, students even talk with us. And so these students, unlike my age, where we may have gone and talked to someone in person, and they are very used to using these app-based solutions, and it's a very good intervention for them. We know that there's a survey that the health department runs called the YRBS. And that's been run for years now in Mississippi. And what it does, it measures overall health and mental health, drug use, tobacco use, and all of that. And so that has been going on in the states forever. And so we have found out from those surveys that youth mental health issues are higher than they've ever been. Youth contemplating suicide is higher than it's ever been. And so it is an immediate health concern for our state. It is an immediate crisis for our state. And I think this is an excellent thing that the governor's office announced yesterday. And I think that partner with Canopy will really help youth in our state. So I'm very excited to see this. It is something that I know the legislature has wanted to see for quite some time now, and really see those interventions get straight out to youth.
According to Canopy, the nationwide percentage of adolescents in the last year reporting one major depressive episode has increased by nearly 90%, and 3 million children between 6th and 12th grade have contemplated or have had serious thoughts about suicide. Those numbers are startling.
They are startling, but you are the parent of youth that age, and doesn't it scare you at night? These are the things that keep you up at night. But what we know is technology, for all of its benefits, also has had some really dramatic effects on our youth population.
And in a negative way, yeah, absolutely.
And there is a lot of things out there that contribute to this, not just technology, but technology plays a major role in this. And I think that's why you're seeing school districts across the state. I know it's why you're seeing school districts across the state that are really limiting the screen time that youth are using in their classrooms. They're limiting their cell phones because of cyberbullying and a lot of other things. And it is one of the things that as a parent, this is an uncharted territory because your parents never had to monitor your cell phone, Richard, or my cell phone, because we didn't have that.
Didn't have one.
Yeah, we didn't have one. And so this has presented issues. There's a number of books out there. Our committee was required to read one. I know in our community we are going to be doing and we'll hopefully come in and talk about it later, but we're going to be doing a book study really on this in the community for parents because this is uncharted territory and it's very difficult and it's not something you had a good model with your parents on how to parent on this because this is a completely new issue. And so it's one of those things that we know that with this technology and the benefits of it also comes a downside too. And we are throwing these cell phones in the hands of youth that are not quite cognitively ready to handle all the decisions that need to be made with these.
Visiting with Senator Nicole Boyd, we're going to take a time out. We're going to talk about school on the other side, but maybe not from the angle that you would guess. Hang with us. We're back right after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
From Mississippi, you're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 14th of August. Nicole Boyd, Senator Nicole Boyd, who represents District 9, that's Lafayette County, and part of Panola County, is my guest. She's chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee, and also on the Medicaid team as well within the Capitol on the Senate side. I had one thought before we switch to a school conversation. When we're talking about children, mental health related issues, I just can't help but think whether or not we're looking in the mirror as much as we should. Because generally speaking, kids don't come up with issues on their own. And so cyberbullying is a thing. But what happened in that kid's life that's doing the cyberbullying? What example did they see or what example did they not see that caused them to think that that's okay? Are we doing enough to address maybe the root of some of the issues that our kids are dealing with, Senator Boyd? Is that an uncomfortable conversation to have?
It is an uncomfortable conversation, but one that we have to have. One of them is, I love my job, but one of the things I enjoy the most about my job is to actually just go and listen to people. And Panola County that I represent last year did a public hearing on youth crime in that area. How did they, as a community, come together to address it? And one of the most profound statements a woman stood up and said, and I will not ever forget it. And kind of with tears in her eyes, very emotional, she got up and said, I don't know how to parent because I was never parented myself. Mm. And she said, I need to parent, and I'm failing right now because I had no model to ever parent. And I thought, wow. Like what has happened in our communities, because even, what has happened in our communities, our churches, that is something with that. And I did see some wonderful older women reach out to that young woman who said that. But I do think that is something that we need to address as communities. And that's not going to be solved at the state level. That's going to have to be solved community by community, really getting down and deep and saying where their issues are. I will tell you this, most of your community mental health centers in the state do offer parenting classes. Most people are not aware of that, but they have really, really good parenting classes that they are offering across the state to try to help parents who say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I want to do a better job, and I want to know how to do this. And that was something I was not aware of that they did. But that came out in this mental health, the Youth Mental Health Task Force, because we know that parents are struggling. And
there's not a training manual. Not one that I mean, I know there are a lot of books out there, but in terms of actually doing it, I mean, being a parent is hard, and some of it you have to learn, and you need a lot of grace, and you got to give a lot of grace.
Exactly. So, I, say a prayer every day that what I do as a parent, mine are a little older now, is not going to to the psychiatrist couch down the road. But, I think we all do that, and we're not going to get it right every time. But I do think there are resources out there to help parents that are really struggling. And we have so many, unfortunately now, we have so many grandparents raising grandchildren as well. And as you think, you and I don't know what to deal with about the technology. Certainly that generation, really struggles what to do with it as well. So I think we've got to, as communities and as churches, and I think that's the beauty of Mississippi. We are small. And in communities, if we identify problems and seek to solve them, we can solve them in the communities. And I think that's a very empowering thing about Mississippi that we don't lean into sometimes.
Visiting with Senator Nicole Boyd, District 9, Lafayette County, part of Panola County as well. I mentioned before the break, I wanted to talk about schools. And when you hear the word school right now in the environment we're in, everybody immediately assumes, hey, they're going to talk about school choice again. I don't want to talk about school choice right now. I want to talk about some of the ancillary issues that we're not talking about as much, and I wonder if we should be, and if it's something that's on your radar. When we're talking K through 12, a conversation that has happened in the past but seems to have gone away because it's uncomfortable is consolidation of school districts and making the most of the money that we have and finding a more efficient way to use money. Let's just start there. Does the legislature have an appetite for that conversation?
I think we have to have an appetite. I want to say this too, is it is so exciting to go to national meetings and they proclaim Mississippi for what we've done. I mean, and I want kind of people and communities to really stand up and say, hey guys, we've done this. This is what I'm talking about, communities digging in, because there's nothing more important in a community than the heart of the school district. So I want you to think about, we are number 16th. Growing up, we were 50th. Yeah. And we have climbed that ladder in not a very long period of time, a very short period of time. If you look at our surrounding states, the only one that's ahead of us is Tennessee. They're 14th. Louisiana's 35th. Arkansas's 36th. Alabama's 38th. Even Florida, who seems to have all the money in the world, is even behind us at 19th. So we are 16th, and we go to all these meetings, and I will tell you something that we have all that just gets us, as my dad would used to say, is they all get up and talk about the, quote, Mississippi miracle. And it just flies all over us because it is no miracle. We have achieved this because of a lot of hard work. And it's a lot of accountability. And that's what I'm going to talk about too, is the accountability. We changed these scores because everybody was held accountable in the process. The student was held accountable. The classroom teacher was held accountable. I remember being at my child's school when they were much younger. They were looking at the counselors. They were looking at the building principal. They hold the superintendent. The communities hold the boards accountable, and parents are held accountable too. So it is a process where we have required accountability the whole way through, and that's on everybody. It is a shared accountability that we are all responsible for. And so you see that throughout of why this has been successful. So consolidation is one of those issues we're going to have to address. And we're going to have to address it for a number of other reasons, too, that's going on. We have got some smaller schools where population has shifted, And they are struggling because they have lost that population. Also, too, we have a teacher shortage in this state, like everybody does around the country. But last year we had around 3,000 vacant positions. So that's something we have to really look at when we're talking about this consolidation issue. We know that these education has gotten more complex. You have more AP classes. You have more specialized classes, CTE classes. It's not simply going anymore. And in those lower grades, we are making sure we focus on the fundamentals. But in the upper grades, we're really looking at your job readiness. And so these really small schools sometimes aren't able to do that. And so those are some issues that we're going to have to look at, is that are those consolidation issues. The House is doing a special committee that they're really looking at that. And I'm excited to kind of see as they go forth and do those hearings on that. Another issue that we really have to talk about, too, is truancy. And that goes back into mental health issues and all of that. We've got to make sure that kids are in school. This is really something that really happened during the pandemic. People got used to not going to school and going to classes. And so we've got truancy issues here. And our youth court judges are talking about it. They are saying we've got to do more on this particular issue. And so we're going to have to empower these judges to do more. And so there's a big issue with truancy. So I think that's one of the big things we've really got to look at with that. The other thing that is really cropped up to, we were so excited, I believe it was in 23, that we did the teacher pay raise. We were so excited because we had believed that we were really putting ourselves, particularly above really our southern neighbors, on teacher pay. Well, what happened is they all matched us and exceeded us.
You can't stand still. It can't be just a one-time thing, right?
No, it cannot be just a one-time thing. And so that's something we're really going to have to look at, because our teachers now, we're not modeling, we're not in that Southeast, there's our surrounding states, and we're in a recruiting war, as I just told you on that. So we're going to have to look at that. And that's not a simple solution because for every $1,000 we give in a teacher pay raise, we're looking at $50 to $55 million in state funds that we've got to come up with to do that. So that's a lot going on with that. So that's a big issue with that. So, but we've got to do that because we've got to, as I told you, we've got about 3,000 vacant teacher positions, and then we have turnover of about a fifth of our teachers every year.
We got to talk we got to talk next time about failing districts that are perennial failing districts and what we're looking at there, if there is a solution. And I've got some IHL questions that we need to get to.
Right.
Unfortunately, this morning we are out of time. Senator Nicole Boyd, thanks so much for being with me.
Enjoyed it.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Got some good conversation going on the C Spire text line. You can be part of that. You can join us at 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for home, work, and on the go. Backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Get a message from Tim in Oxford. I know Tim, and he is not exaggerating with what he says here. He says, I see the mental health of K through 12 students every day. The school-owned devices are exposing it, and the question is, how are school districts intervening? Work with school districts every day, and that conversation must be had. And he suggests a book to read as well, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. So there are two things there that stand out to me. The school-owned devices, because they are school-owned devices, give the ability to schools or companies that are working for and with schools to monitor online activity and any potential threats or bullying. And that's a good thing, right? I mean, there's a way to track the communication that is happening. But to me, there's a secondary issue there, and it's something that, if not all, many schools have adopted. And that's exactly what Tim is describing here, which is school-owned, school-provided devices. In the lower grade, and hey, Oxford School District's where I am. I know it's not like this everywhere. But I've watched it as a parent. In the lower grades, it's iPads. So, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, I don't remember the exact cutoff, maybe even third and fourth grade, it's iPads that stay at school. Then you get to a point where you have iPads that the child travels to and from school with because of homework requirements. And then once you get into the junior high grades, the middle school and up, I think that's seventh grade and up, it's actually a computer, an Apple computer, like a MacBook Air that is provided for the students. And this has been adopted in a lot of places for a lot of reasons. There is a supposed savings in textbook costs. It's kind of the way the world works. We live in a digital world, and we operate on digital platforms, and computer skills and technology skills are vitally important. But is that 100% the right answer? For everything to be digital? For all of the assignments to be turned in via, an online portal? For all of the work to be happening on computers? And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm really not. We're just kind of having a conversation and thinking out loud here. Were some of the mental health issues that we're talking about, whether it's cyberbullying or other things, and please understand, I realize a lot of kids have phones. And if they don't have phones, they've got iPads at home. And so they've got access to that all the time. And there are pretty significant restrictions that are on the school-provided, school-bought technology devices. But do we have as much of this when you had to carry a social studies book and you had to carry a biology book and you had to carry your algebra book, either in your backpack or in your locker? And most schools don't have lockers anymore because they're a security risk. And so you've lightened the load that kids have to carry in a backpack or they have to carry to school in or out. Lance, you remember the days where you had a backpack, probably JanSport or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was one of those.
Where you had 4 or 5 books and a couple of binders, and it was shoved in there and probably gave you back problems.
I hated the backpack until I got to college and had to hoof it about a quarter mile to a class. So, but in high school, I would just tote the lumber,
I understand.
Put it in the locker.
But you probably had a locker to put to, and then you could duck by your locker, grab your book, grab your binder, notebook for the class, and go on to the next one.
You went to the locker between every class, grabbed your books, and moved on. If you had homework, you took it to the house with you. You just grabbed a few books. But, back in those days, life was much simpler.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Ricky in Aberdeen says district consolidation doesn't necessarily mean school consolidation.
No, not at all.
100% agree. Now, in some cases, Ricky, it might. Mm-hmm. If you've got a school district, and I'm thinking about some of our 1A and maybe 2A schools where you've got a couple of hundred kids in the entire district, instead of replicating services across 2 or 3 or 4 campuses within a county, and some of that's geographic and some of that's travel related, maybe you have one school with 400 kids across 12 grades plus kindergarten, or 600 kids, and maybe that is more efficient. But if you go to a place like DeSoto County where you've got 5, 6, 7, 7A high schools and another 6A school. No, we're not talking about consolidating those schools. That would be incredibly inefficient. If you go to Lafayette County, you're not talking about consolidating Oxford High School and Lafayette High School into a single high school. No, but you're talking about, would it make more sense? Would there be more efficiency? Would it be a better use of resources if at the administrative level, at the district level, you were combining? I mean, DeSoto County is an incredible example. You have the DeSoto County School District, and I'm going to miss schools when I start naming them. That's fine, but you get the idea. Within the DeSoto County School District, you have South Haven, and you have Hernando, and you have DeSoto Central, and you have Lake Cormorant, and there are you have Olive Branch, and probably I think a couple of others that I'm not just thinking of off the top of my head, but that's all in the same district. So you've got half a dozen of the 15 biggest high schools in the entire state, all within one administrative umbrella. But you might go to, and I'm picking on this because it's the first kind of smallish county that I thought of. You might go to Atala County and have multiple districts within Atala County with a fraction of the number of students across multiple school districts that you have in DeSoto County. It's like, so they can run efficiently in DeSoto County with 10,000 students in the district, whereas Atala County might combine 2 or 3 districts for a total of 2,000 students. And again, I'm just making up those numbers, and it's not a shot at Atala County. Somebody mentioned Atala County to me yesterday, and so it's just top of mind.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, there's one guy in Houston, Texas, that administers 274 schools. So
well,
I have no problem with some consolidation of districts.
I don't know that Houston, Texas consolidated school district is necessarily the model that you're looking for either. But no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, my point being is if one guy can watch over 274 schools, but we have superintendents and those that are watching over 4, I mean, and we can find a middle ground somewhere, I think.
Yeah. John says pay raises without demanding results from teachers shouldn't be. Simply put, teachers not producing desired results should not have raises. I'm fully aware that you won't agree with me on that. Well, however, is that hold on a second before you tell me what I will or won't agree with, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Mm-hmm. However, is that not the way normal business operates? Give you an example. If I hire someone either as a driver or a warehouse position and they fail to produce the desired results, I don't give them a pay raise. I send them to the unemployment line.
Yeah, but that isn't how government works. I mean, we're talking about the private sector versus the public sector. It's not. Everybody knows the government doesn't work on efficiency.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. But maybe that dovetails into that larger conversation that I alluded to yesterday that we're going to have with regard to IHL and funding models at the collegiate level. Why is everybody just being funded for the sake of funding? Like, why is it just, you get this amount of money per student, you get this amount of money per student? And by the way, they're not the same amounts of money. Why are you not rewarding the universities that are producing, that are meeting certain criteria? So, John, on the surface, I actually don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
I think it's a way to attract better teachers to say, look, this is your base salary. This is where you have the potential to grow, and this is where you have the opportunity to earn bonuses based on student outcomes. I don't hate that idea at all. Walter and Tupelo, with the changes to PERS next year, good luck hiring good teachers going forward without significant pay increases. It's something that's going to have to be addressed, Walter. But it's such a double-edged sword, right? You could not continue with PERS in the way that it currently existed. You had to make an adjustment. But here's the thing. The state of Mississippi is not the only state, and it's certainly not the only entity that is adjusting retirement benefits. You got professional sports leagues that had the greatest pension programs ever who have gone to 401k type benefits because the defined benefits didn't make fiscal sense over the long term. They were great, but they weren't sustainable. So Mississippi's not the only one that's going to be dealing with that. Got a bunch more of your messages we'll get to coming up next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Philip in Walthall County reminds me of a line in an early post-apocalypse movie. A man was trying to trade books. The young people said, "What's a book?" His response, "A non-volatile information retrieval system." That's a good one, Philip.
Yeah. Deep thoughts.
That is a good one. Walter in Tupelo, companies adjust them all the time, talking about benefits plans and retirement plans. Says they have to make up for the retirement by paying a higher salary, giving that person more opportunity to invest in their 401k. I know this from experience because that exact thing has happened at our company. Yeah, it's a shifting landscape. And look, I get that PERS and changing PERS is the boogeyman. I understand that. And I understand that PERS has been a lifeblood of a retirement system for multiple generations of Mississippians. And it has allowed people to make a little less money while working in exchange for an incredibly generous retirement benefit. And that's wonderful. My mother is a beneficiary of that. You probably have family members that are beneficiaries. You may be a beneficiary of that yourself, and you recognize how exceptional it is. But, and not to go all, I think he's listening, so I'll use his name, not to go all Daniel Sparks on you and talk about actuarial tables, but you got to look at the actuarial tables, not to go all, straight state treasurer David McCray on you. But the fact of the matter is you have to be able to pay for those benefits, and you get to a point where you're like, we can't pay for this anymore. And so we can either stick our head in the sand and just keep doing it, or we can make an adjustment that is a fiscally responsible adjustment. And again, we get to this conversation based on somebody saying, we're talking about teachers and teacher salaries and, bonuses for teachers based on student outcomes. And somebody says, recruiting is going to be harder for teachers than it's ever been because of the changes to PERS. Yes, but Mississippi is not unique in that. It's not a unicorn. It's not this island in the middle of the ocean that nobody else goes to. There are lots of places that are having to do this, including private business all the time. So yes, you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to make sure that you're handling it the right way. You may have to increase salaries. You may have to.
Well, you got 152 school districts in the state of Mississippi, brother. Do you think these folks work for free? These are six-figure income.
Retirement benefits.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you start shifting from administration to teaching, maybe there will be some money that's there. We're talking about splitting hairs here, I guess, but when administrators are making six figures to do what? Watch over three schools? Do we really need to be paying 6 or 7 people? That's where I'm going. That money could be definitely used in a better way.
Yeah.
And look, I get that folks work hard even at the school board level, but do we need as many? When we got 152 school districts, brother. There's only 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. We are a small state in population. I doubt seriously that we need 152 school districts with most of these folks making very good incomes just to administrate. That's the only point I'm going to make on it.
Thomas says freezing COLA for 10 years is the fix for PERS. No, it's not the fix. Thomas, that's a fix. Mm-hmm. And you are right, Thomas, from a math standpoint.
Good luck on selling that, though. I'm sorry.
From a math standpoint, Thomas, yes, you are right. I'm not sure that you're right from a moral standpoint, though. And here's what I mean by that. I'm not being judgmental. I'm not being high and mighty. But Lance, tell me if you disagree here, Lance. The state of Mississippi has promised people that this is how the PERS state retirement benefit system is going to work.
That's right.
And your cost of living adjustment over time is your reward.
Is your bonus.
It's your bonus. And if you have promised people this is what we are going to give you, then you have a moral obligation. And frankly, and thankfully, the legislature recognized that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, Thomas, the maths. Your math works. Freeze COLA for 10 years, and you can fix PERS.
And you'll lose half of your state
But
workforce.
it is a terrible solution to the problem. Just because it is a solution to the problem that works, it's a terrible solution because you're going back on what you have promised and, frankly, what you have contracted with people.
Well, the contract there, that's legal. You think there won't be a class action suit? Probably.
So there you go. You know, we walk into the show every morning with a plan. What was it? Mike Tyson that said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face the first time? Not that we got punched in the place, but the plan kind of went to the wayside, and it went to the wayside because of you. Thank you for the outstanding conversation this morning on the C Spire text line. We can agree, we can disagree, but let's have intelligent conversation. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross. For Lance, I'm Richard, coming to you on Super Talk Mississippi. Lucian Smith in tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. We'll talk to you then.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.